All right, so if you are just joining us, it's Thursday afternoon, and it's our second of our Q&A monthly for our Bella group coaching. So, as always, just to explain what these sessions and the purpose of them are, is for you guys to jump in either on the call, or if you have questions but can't make the call, as always, please reach out to us with your questions, because we would love to be able to answer them so that you're more successful throughout the month, or you don't have things hanging over your head that you're like, man, I really wonder if XYZ, or I would love to know more about XYZ. And that's what we're here to answer any questions or help you out. So we have a lot of one-on-one people that get to do this with us like every other week, a lot of one-on-ones. So we're like hoping to kind of be able to help out more on a group level, because, you know, unfortunately we don't have infinite time and we're getting very low on who we can take for one-on-one. So with that being said, that is what this platform is for. So we have the lovely Jess on the line, and we're going to talk to Jess then, because this is now officially her session.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So Jess, actually, we're gonna run this very similar to how we would run a one-on-one. I actually, we both know Jess really, really well, and I've had the pleasure of coaching her one-on-one. And Jess, would you mind, I think you have an incredibly inspirational story. Would you mind sharing with the group, or all of
Us and everyone else
that will be watching later?
Yeah. Sure. What story?
So let me start it and then you take it over.
Okay.
Once upon a time, there was an OTF coach named Kelsey, and she was slightly intense about a lot of things, and got so intense that she couldn't do that job particularly anymore. So she had to control more people's lives by helping them with nutrition. Enter Jess. So I started coaching Jess. When was that? With one-on-one nutrition. Was that
it was July, I think.
Was it July? Yeah. And so my initial stuff with you, just in general, was incredibly hard worker. When she works out, super intense, super focused. Don't mess with her. She will slap you upside the head, but with a smile, right? So one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. But there was something that was kind of missing as far as the nutritional piece. But the more that we dug, the more that we realized it wasn't necessarily that. It became a lot more of a health journey than it did a body composition and weight loss journey. And now it has kind of evolved into both. So Jess, take it from there.
Yeah. So when we started working, we were really focused. I'm a runner. And I really love running, and was hoping to do a marathon this spring, but was finding that running was really challenging. Actually, all workouts were really challenging. And so I started talking to Kelsey and was kind of sharing some of my symptoms and my woes. And she suggested that maybe I get some testing and go talk to a naturopath. And
do you remember what your symptoms were? I do specifically. I remember this conversation so well.
What you were. Go ahead if you want to share them, because
I just remember, but I would like you to elaborate how that feels, because I wasn't there. I just know I remember so well. I was literally sitting right over here on my bar stand when we were having this conversation one day, and she was just talking about how she was so fatigued, incredibly fatigued after a run where she pushed herself more, or even an OTF day where she just was all out. And I started kind of thinking and doing a little investigative research in my brain. And one of the other things that was really interesting was that she was, one of the symptoms was excessive thirst. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. And that was definitely a little red flag. So with that, and then it's frequent visits to the bathroom, obviously excessive thirst. And there's just, when that type of thing happens for us as nutrition coaches, we're kind of something's going on. So my first inclination was either a type 2 diabetes, like a pre-diabetes scenario, or an adrenal fatigue, which seemed incredibly more likely. However, because Jess had that diabetes in her family, it was something that is beyond my scope of practice. So it was, let's talk to a naturopath and try to figure out what's really going on. So those, I think that just speaks, I don't mean to interrupt, Jess, but I think that just, because there's so many people that have those symptoms, and they think that it's like, well, I'm just tired, or I'm just thirsty today and I'm dehydrated. It's like, that's not always the case. There's so much more that could be happening with those things. And I think it's important for us to hear that and empower each other as men and women in this adrenal fatigue that seems to be kind of run rapid throughout, right? Like everybody right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the hard part about adrenal fatigue is that it's usually people like myself who are driven and, you know, we want to succeed. So we end up pushing ourselves even harder and put ourselves into a downward spiral, because we're just like, well, maybe I just need to work out more and I won't be as fatigued. And it just turns into this ravenous ball of mess. So yeah, it was definitely eye-opening. And then we were able to really hone down and make some big life changes. Kind of had a little come to Jesus moment with Kelsey. And, you know,
that moment very well also.
He did it in the nicest way.
I mean, it's hard because it's an emotional thing when you're that driven and when you're that much of an athlete, to have that conversation as a coach to someone that you care about so much and you're wanting to succeed, and be like, I want you to be healthier more than I want you to succeed with performance. And so for me, that was really hard. Because like emotionally, I was so caught up in like, okay, this has now become like a really close person to me. So I really need you to be healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know I could tell it was a challenging conversation, but I needed to hear it. And now, you know, that my husband will say like, oh, you're going to take on this extra activity. What would Kelsey say?
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, you know, making big life changes has been super helpful in learning the big, powerful how to say no.
Yeah.
Which, oh my gosh, I mean, we're all busy, crazy ladies. So
yeah, for sure. So what, let's fast forward to where you're at like right now, because right now it's like your heart rate's starting to respond again, and you're starting to sleep better, and your stress levels are kind of down, and your hormones are definitely normalizing, and we've created kind of this really great awareness of where your nutrition should be in order to support that change and to really fix really and snuggle that adrenal gland a little bit. So because of that, I mean, it's been a long time coming, but this is just now started to kind of come full circle. So what's life like now?
I mean, it's good. It's crazy. I have to watch myself on runs because it's really easy for me to push myself too hard now because I don't have a lot of the fatigue and the restraint that I had before. So it's like I have a whole new body that I'm trying to, you know, figure out the balance there. But I mean, it's awesome. I forgot what it feels to be normal. Like I'm not having this huge crash in the afternoon where I'm just exhausted. I ran last week. I did an 8-mile run, which would have put me out for both Saturday afternoon and likely all day Sunday. I would have just been zonked. Yeah. But I was able to go to a park in that afternoon and play with my kids at the park. And it's just like, oh, I'm getting teary-eyed. Yeah. But it feels so good to be coming out of it. And I never want to have to go back to that place. And hopefully this helps somebody else who's had similar symptoms, because it's a game changer.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's your story. I've been wanting to like share your story for so long. And I was like, well, you're here. This is the perfect time. But I also want to see what we can do to continue kind of with your whole story, because I know, when are you going out of town, you super badass lady that wins all the things at work?
Oh, May 1st.
Okay, so May 1st,
Yes.
we are currently working on some body composition goals. We're currently working on a little bit of weight loss. And like I have noticed, and she texted me earlier, and I won't like text or whatever, but I was like, yeah, not to be like a creeper or anything, but I've definitely been checking you out in like a like kind of like girl crush kind of way, because I noted like it takes me honestly forever to notice people's like
body composition.
It just takes me forever. So like Amy will be like, I feel amazing, I've lost like X amount of body fat, and I'm like, you always look great. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just don't, I'm super oblivious. So when I start to notice, I know that for me, it's like, okay, if I notice, then some other people had to have noticed, because I am super oblivious, like Captain Oblivious of everything. So I think that you should know you look amazing. And yes, your booty looks pretty.
Thanks, guys.
So just saying. So what can we do? How are you feeling about your nutrition right now? Like, what have you been doing? How can we help you?
Yeah, I've been going back to tracking. So, you know, sometimes you kind of just go on cruise control and forget what you're putting in your mouth. And when I'm trying to lose a few pounds, I'm definitely looking to have at least a little bit of a caloric deficit, but not anything too crazy.
Sure.
But I think tracking is just the best way to kind of reevaluate what I am putting in, and then kind of moving from there. And then also just really focusing on keeping my veggies and fruits at every meal, and a lean protein. It goes so far.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we focused on a lot was like, when in doubt, when hungry, have lean protein and veggies like first, and then everything else just kind of falls into place. Like, don't you find that
that's like always my like go-to suggestion honestly for people, or even for myself, if I am extra hungry at a meal, even if I've already finished what I've eaten or whatever, it's like, okay, I might choose to have a little bit more veggie or a little bit more protein, like if I feel like, that would help or whatever the case may be. But kind of erring on the side of that, as opposed to maybe additional like carbs first or something like that, because those aren't going to fill you up for very long anyway. So
yeah. Tell us about that. Why not?
Well, because your body processes through them a lot quicker than all of the other items, especially protein and dietary fat. But the thing about dietary fat, which Jess, I'm sure you know from all of your coaching, with dietary fat for a small amount, it's going to be a lot more calorically dense. So although it's way slow for your body to metabolize through, you could have a lot less of that, and it equates to more calories, more intake for your body, whereas protein is going to be very satiating for a little bit less. So,
and it burns a lot of calories
while you're processing through it.
Yeah, you literally just sit and eat, and then your body has to work really hard, and you don't even know that it's working that hard. So that's perfect. I think another thing that I thought was really insightful when we were coaching too, Jess, was how you definitely had an adverse reaction to fructose surrounding your workout. And I think that that's really important to know and understand as a runner, that it's like sometimes one of those easy things is like, okay, grab, a protein shake and a banana or whatever, but fructose can be really rough on the tummy when you're actually trying to move. And I think that a lot of people like, there's something wrong with me, and it's like, that's not necessarily the case. It's just the way that your body is processing. So what are you having surrounding your workout now, and how's that working for you?
Yeah, well, for running, you and I discussed, I just do white rice. I'm sure people are just if they hear that, but I do white rice pre and post workout, because I have to have a very simple carb that I can burn quickly. Actually, that's a good question. Is we have talked about this before. I'm about to start running 90 plus minutes again.
Yeah.
Where it's sometimes I need a little extra something on the run.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what that will be. especially because my stomach is also, since I'm coming out of the adrenal fatigue, is able to handle more than I could before.
Right. I would say that experiment for sure. We've had this conversation about like gels versus like all that stuff that you could eat, you know, intra workout, and those are my favorite. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Which one is that one?
That's Clara.
Hi, Clara. I would say that I would experiment a little bit because, again, if fructose is going to be a little bit tougher, then a lot of those things are sweetened with fructose. So
Right.
Something that isn't going to be like, I know it sounds totally insane, but something like almost like a cream of wheat consistency, and like a cream of wheat where it's like, it's something that is quickly digested but doesn't have those fructose added to it. Might be something that would be beneficial because I know your stomach is super sensitive. So it's like having the fake sugars is gonna like be a little bit rough on your tummy, but it doesn't mean you can't try it now that you're out of adrenal fatigue.
Right.
The caution would be, let's not get you back there by having those same habits that kind of put you there, which essentially was more the workouts than it was nutrition, but
Right.
keep your nutrition at a nice balance. So I would almost say like getting those little packets that they have. I think they have like the refillable ones that you can get for like babies, right? On Amazon, like the little squeezy guys.
packets.
Oh yeah.
And kind of play with it, and it's definitely not going to be delicious, so let's just get that out there. But like it could be something like where you play with ratios of like cream of wheat and like even just like water or almond milk or something like that. See if you can kind of stomach that when you're on a run to see if that is going to help you. And then if it does and you're like, okay, so maybe I can try a little bit of applesauce in there for some flavor, and just kind of play with the ratios of what that would look like. 50-50, does that upset your stomach? So err on the side of caution. Know that it's not going to taste awesome, but it's going to give you what you need without affecting your performance and how you feel post run. And then kind of see if you can make it a little like taste a little bit better.
And even like with like the like instead of applesauce too, if you're a little bit nervous about adding in fruit or don't want to, I don't know if you've played at all around with a little bit of like honey. So obviously like sweetening it up with just a little bit of honey, that would go a long way too in terms of like adding just a little bit of extra energy for you without necessarily adding the, you know, the fruit side of things. But maple syrup would also be true. Maple syrup with that would be awesome. And yeah, like Kelsey said, I think that something like the cream of wheat would be awesome for like just super easily digestible carbohydrate to keep in that little like squeezy pouch, which again will seem weird, but it'll be something that hopefully would be easier than those gels and all that kind of stuff. So
cool. Thank you.
yeah.
Hi, dude.
Babe at the screen. Say hi. He's like, no.
Look, I'm good.
So post-workout's good?
Yeah, and then what I've been doing for when I'm lifting with you guys, because you know I'm working on that definition. I have been doing a protein shake and like usually just a rice cake because it's quick and easy and I can keep it in the car.
Yeah, that's perfect. Are you doing a single rice cake?
What was that?
Are you doing a single rice cake?
Uh-huh.
And then do you have like breakfast relatively soon after that, or
Yeah, within an hour or so.
within an hour?
Yeah,
That would probably be okay.
Yeah. I would play with that too though, Jess. Like if you're feeling good and like one is good, then great. Like but play with it a little bit because your body works pretty hard in these workouts. So it's like and a lot of this is you are trying to get some gains through your
Building
muscle.
a little bit of muscle, yeah.
So when that happens, carbohydrate is not just giving you energy, but it's actually going in and like plumping up the muscle, because when your body actually like utilizes the energy and breaks it down into glucose in your body and in your blood, then it goes out through your whole system and it goes to your liver and it goes to your muscles.
And because and when it goes into your muscles, it gets stored as glycogen. So glucose becomes glycogen, and then because you're actually getting that stored, the glycogen will actually plump up the muscle. And when that happens, that's a good thing because it's going to get nice and pumped up. But then what'll happen is when you have protein on top of that, the protein will actually go in and it'll kind of hold that pump that you're getting from the carbs. And it will heal it up so that you're keeping that pump. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's kind of like if you're blowing up a tire and the carbohydrate is the air and then the protein is the plug to keep it that way.
Got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So then if you're like, okay, well maybe I'll have like 2 or 3 rice cakes or whatever, that would also be.
Yeah. And your body's moving quickly.
I've got your permission. I've got the okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other thing too is like, I mean, if it's just like those Quaker rice cakes,
Yeah,
I would literally do like 5. 5 of those pre and post workout. That was like what I did a lot. And I would work about what you do, Jess, just as hard in those lifts. So
yeah. So you don't have to go off and do 5.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Just make sure you're not in that mentality of like, well, shoot, am I going to be eating too much at this time? Like your body actually really does need it. And
okay.
it'll utilize it for sure.
Yeah.
So.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Pumping up the biceps and the booty, and then the protein's going to make it stay that way.
And I mean, at any point, if you're going to overdo carbs, not saying that's overdoing it even, but I'm just saying that's the time to do it is pre and post workout because your body is going to be like, yes, please. And thank you very much.
Yes.
So.
Perfect.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay. What else you got, Jess? Anything else exciting? Breakfast is good. Snacks are good. You said caloric deficit. What's your caloric deficit look like?
I've been very slow to like move that number down very fast. I tried 1,800 calories and I wasn't seeing very much, so I'm trying 1,750.
Okay, cool. I love that you just went down by 50.
Yeah. Just
some people are like, great, I'm gonna go down to 1,500, and I'm like, woo!
Yeah.
So no,
especially with the training I do, I don't want to risk anything.
Yeah. And then if you start to level off a little bit, let's have a conversation about that because as you drop, like I feel like you're probably still fine, but as you start to drop and it start to level out and plateau a little bit, we wouldn't advise you go a lot less than that because of how active you are. That's already kind of on the low end. So we might need to manipulate a few other factors in order to, because otherwise we're going to start that metabolic downregulation, and that's when we start to kind of adrenal fatigue again.
Yeah, don't want to go there.
Yeah. It's kind of like even just playing around a little bit with like where those like, that little change is coming from can be super beneficial too. So, instead of just all across the board, maybe it's like a little bit higher and then maybe you change your fat intake or whatever. It's like you can kind of around within that range or the variety of the foods. Yeah, totally. So,
yeah, there's a lot of things that we can manipulate like once you get there. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I think the hardest part, I know I'm not alone on this, is just watching my alcohol intake. So that's always good. When I don't have my glass of wine, I usually am able to stay within my calorical. So
yeah, and I mean that makes sense because like you're also going to get better results because your body's not viewing like alcohol, or when your body does view alcohol like what the heck is this? I can't really use this for energy. Then it just tries to get rid of it as quickly as possible, and when it does that, it's basically like you've created a diversion is what you created, and now it just doesn't need to burn fat anymore because it's obsessed with burning alcohol because it doesn't know what that is. So you'll notice like as you like drop alcohol or just not have a glass of wine or whatever, that your body composition will change faster because your body's actually targeting what it should be, burning fat. Yeah, instead of alcohol. So that makes sense.
Yeah, sorry, I had a screaming child.
Oh, she wasn't that loud. You're good.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for us, Jess?
No, I think that's good.
Killing it? Cool. Okay, you have over a month, and I'm like super confident in where you're at, and I feel like,
Yeah.
you know, I think homework for you, if I were to assign homework, which of course I'm going to, I do want you to kind of play with your intro workout like meal and see, and maybe even report back to us and see how that's going. Because as you get onto those longer runs, you will need that, and I want you to feel really good. So play with that a little bit, and then just be hyper aware of your calorie intake and energy balance. And if it starts to if you start to feel any energy dropping or anything like that, what you can do, we'll fix you.
Okay.
There. Look at what I have.
Has to be to mom.
All right.
All right. Thank you, ladies and Max.
Yeah. Have an awesome rest of your day, Jess.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.